From James O'Keefe. While we're on the subject of Joe Biden being despicable, I think it's important to point out. Now, in the earlier segment, we were discussing Joe Biden calling for gun control, but Joe Biden is gone. He's gone. We have this video from James O'Keefe, shocking undercover video. Quote, Joe Biden is dead. National Security Council advisor inside the White House details Biden can't say a sentence. Henry Appel, a former spy who currently works the intelligence program's directorate for the NSC, reveals we're concerned about Trump coming after us. We're trauma bonded. There were a lot of tears. Heavens me. Let's just play the intro and see what James can show us.
Well, here's the tea. Joe Biden is like dead. He like can't say a sentence. He's like really like progressed in his whole being. Everybody recognized. I can't believe it wasn't a bigger scandal at Blair. He'll be dead in a year.
Wow.
Henry Appel, an advisor for the National Security Council. Henry Appel shared that President Biden had called the NSC White House phone while on a foreign trip looking for NSC advisor Jake Sullivan. Henry told the president that, in fact, Mr. Sullivan was not at the White House, but on the same foreign trip as President Biden.
My boss was on an international trip with him, like Europe or something. The phone rang in the office, and I was like, "Oh, Mr. President, Henry." He was like, "He's safe there." He's like, "No, he's traveling with you.
Wow.
He's on the same trip that you are."
In another encounter with President Biden, Henry Appel from the National Security Council revealed a phone call exchange. On the call, Biden was asking for NSC advisor Jake Sullivan. Henry told Biden that Sullivan had left the office for the day. Biden stated he would call Sullivan's personal phone. Instead, Biden called the same office 10 seconds later, asking for Sullivan again.
A couple weeks ago, I was like the last one in the office. He called from my boss. And so I picked the phone and said, "Hello, Mr. President. It's Henry on Jake's phone. He's left for the day, but I can try to get him on the line for you." And he asked me some questions. And I was like, "I don't know. Let me get the track him down. Let's call his Secret Service detail." It's like I'll try his unclassified phone. Then 10 seconds later, same phone. I picked it up again. I was like, "Hi again, it's Henry." He was like, "Is Jake there?" And I was like, "No, you called the same office."
Henry Appel stated that President Biden did not understand basic words in meetings at the White House.
Another time my boss went in to brief him, I had written the talking points. I said "Oh, this is like a novel phenomenon or something. It's new. It hasn't been done before."
And if you were drinking
my boss said it. I was just like novel? What do you mean, a book? You mean
wow.
The two meanings of the word novel,
There's a lot more here, but I think the important thing that he said was, I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger scandal earlier. Mm-hmm. This is what's fascinating about the work of James O'Keefe, the undercover videos that Crowder has done. The corporate press is such a thin veneer at this point. You can see through it like there's nothing even there. Mm-hmm. There's a guy standing in front of you, but we're looking right past him, and we can see Joe Biden has been gone for a long time. Mm. And the only reason it wasn't a scandal sooner is because, I got to be honest, I think collectively all the Democrats just know they're lying.
You didn't believe Joe Scarborough?
Yeah.
He said he was the best Biden he's ever seen.
Look, I know that Joe Scarborough's a liar. I know that Joe Scarborough knows he's lying. Yeah. But I think actually that the average Democrat voter knows they're lying too. And they're just saying it because they think that's what they're supposed to say.
You think it took up until that first debate with Trump for them to be like, for the average voter to be like, whoa, this guy is not right? Or do they know beforehand?
I think
not care.
I think most Democrats knew. Mm-hmm. And they're all, look, come on. There's this viral video where it's Ted Cruz. And I can't remember who he's talking to, but he asks about men and women's sports. And he's like, what is the purpose of women's sports? And she says something like, sports are a great way. And he goes, no. What is the point of women's sports? And then he pulls up a study. A study was done in 2017 that found that women's records, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, guys. We as human beings of rational thought do not need scientific studies to tell us men run faster, jump farther, lift more, et cetera, et cetera. These people know this too. These Democrats know. They're all just lying because they think that's what they're supposed to say to adhere to their cult. Mm-hmm. So that's the same thing with this. When he says, I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger scandal earlier. Well, yeah, you're in a cult, dude. It's a cult. They know the truth. They just won't say it.
Yep. I knew a guy who was in a cult, and they believed that you couldn't die. And then when someone did die, they went through all the mental loopholes of how to explain this away. He must have not been a true believer, all these things.
Proves it.
But this is the same thing. You're in a cult, and all of a sudden this person is dead. We've known Joe Biden's dead. I mean, me personally, for 30 years. Maybe just a few years, but like it's been very obvious.
But obviously right now, I think it's hard for me to say this. We have to draw the distinction between we are saying he is figuratively dead.
I'm saying literally dead.
No.
This is a clone, but go on.
What I mean is, because of the prospect of Joe Biden's old age, that he may be nearing the end of his life, I think it's important to stress we're talking about figuratively is the quote. Because if you said to somebody that Joe Biden has died, they'll be like, well, yeah, I mean, he's gone. But what he's saying is, and again, I have to clarify this because Joe Biden may be not long for this world. I mean, no disrespect.
Yeah, it almost makes you feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Because I lost my dad to brain cancer, and there's no nerve endings in your brain. And so when that's happening, you know, like they're not really aware of it. Like my dad would like, you know, he'd take like a bottle off the ground, and he hadn't smoked in years, and he'd like try to smoke a water bottle, you know, like, and he has no clue what's going on. You feel bad for the guy. He's put in this situation.
Richie, I just a quick question. Who's running the country?
Donald Trump.
That's
Yeah, actually, that's true.
a bunch of bureaucats. A bunch of bureurocrats is the answer.
No, but Trump is
Our
actually
elected
doing
official.
more as not president than Biden's doing as president.
Internationally, internationally countries are responding to Donald Trump as if he's in charge now. They're sure the bureaucracies here in the U.S. haven't started. You know, there hasn't been the changes necessary, and there's likely attempts by the Biden administration to do a little bit of hamstringing, like selling off the wall parts and stuff like that. But for the most part, like the whole country is responding to Donald Trump as if Donald Trump is running the country, because Donald Trump is running the country.
The whole world.
Well, I think
absolutely.
that question. I mean, so if Joe Biden isn't running the country, and there are a bunch of allegedly smart people who are, then I went to the border in 2021, right after Biden got elected. They had contracts on that wall that they literally had already paid out, and people were just sitting in trailers while the wall was just rusting in a lot. And you have to ask yourself, if there are smart people who are making those decisions, like, what is their agenda?
Collapse.
Yeah, I mean, that I don't have any other answer other than that.
The Biden admin is selling off the border wall. They are intentionally sabotaging this country. There's for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, it's intentional at that point. It has to be.
There's no question, because they're not making money. If it was like we're in a budget shortfall, let's sell this, they wouldn't just be giving it away. They're ripping apart the material. Trump talked about this in a press conference. He said, "Please, Biden, stop doing this."
This is reminiscent, and like, I'm not trying to make allusions to the worst people of the 20th century, and I'm not saying the Democrats are like the Nazis, but when you have a party that clearly has lost the plot by doubling down on the bad things that they're doing as opposed to doing good things. Like when the Nazis knew that they could either stop killing Jews and hopefully help their position in the war, they doubled down on killing Jews. And so that's kind of what Biden is doing. It's like he could stop doing things that hurt the country, but and try and help with the transition, but instead he's decided to double down on doing things that hurt the country.
His whole career has been for evil. Like, that's why I don't feel sympathy for him, right? Yeah. Like, he has been a career demon for decades, and I feel no sympathy for him at all. I think it's sad when it's old people outside of this guy, but this guy look what he just granted clemency to a judge who was selling kids,
or the dude with the kiddie porn. Kiddie, sorry. Well, I guess I'm not allowed to say. Well, the dude with the
the Chinese. Yes, dude,
tens
diddler.
of thousands. Yeah, the diddler.
So, and that's either Biden doing it. I don't think it is. I think it's a network of people behind Biden doing these things. But he has had a career of doing this.
Well, there's a big story that there's this Chinese national who had all these images of extreme child torture. And 47,000, and he gets commuted. His sentence commuted, and he gets deported along with two others. They say this was part of a prisoner exchange, which will bring back wrongly imprisoned Americans. And my attitude was kind of like, man, I don't know. Let me ask you guys this question: if you were I'll say this. If I was imprisoned in China and the federal government said, Tim, we're going to get you out and we have to free this guy to do it, I'd be like, no, I'm staying right here. Like, I don't know. What do you think? Would you like? I don't know if that trade makes sense. That person is a demon who committed. This is a guy with 47,000 images of child torture. Okay, and I'm saying that I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know, man. I can't speak for the individual who was wrongly imprisoned in China, but if it were me, I'd be like, I am not accepting that.
Well, why do the Chinese want him is the question. So, like, what kind of compromising information does that guy have on maybe American citizens or something? Like, why do the Chinese want this guy with those kind of crimes back when they have a social credit system over there?
But here's the question for you guys. If you were asked, you're wrongly imprisoned in insert country, we can free you, but we have to release that guy to do it. Would you be like, yeah, do it, I want to come home? Or would you be like, no?
I'm getting out and I'm hunting him down.
You can ask Sam tomorrow because he was in Syrian prison, so maybe he'll have a good answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's being sent back to China, and we have no guarantees that this... I mean, the things that this guy had are crimes against humanity. The other guys were spies. So a prisoner exchange for spies, I kind of roll my eyes at. I'm like, okay, fine. But the issue ultimately is I don't know... Or I'll put it this way. I believe that Joe Biden actually did these things because there's compromising information on him. With what they were doing and flying to China, Ukraine, Russia, all this stuff.
Him or his family.
I mean, I think
he has his back against the wall. There's no other choice.
The judge who was selling kids.
Yeah.
So if those don't know the story, there were multiple judges, I believe, right?
It was a judge and some other person in authority. It wasn't a judge, but yeah, in Pennsylvania.
No, it was a judge. I believe it was in Michigan.
Oh, okay, there's another one then. Jeez.
Yeah, wasn't this the one
selling kids to the prison industrial complex?
Yeah. So the story I don't know which one he pardoned, but the story was there have been several judges, and there would be a kid who, I think one of the stories where they got into a fight in school. So when he got arrested, the judge said, off to juvie with ye, and it was supposed to be something like a couple weeks for getting into a fight, which still seems a bit excessive. Then the kid got in trouble in juvie, and the judge said, you're staying. And it was because the private prisons were getting paid to have these kids there. And then they were paying the judge to make sure the kids kept coming in the pipeline.
Same thing happened in New York.
How do you pardon these people?
There was a judge in upstate New York, got in trouble for the same thing about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, and then BLM, they were all, oh, Trump is the worst thing in the world. And wait, what's the alternative here? And there was like a moment where we were in Philly in October, and this one protester just spoke up. She was like, you're telling me that the author of the federal crime bill and the top cop, Kamala Harris, are your saviors? Like, are you kidding me? And it goes to show like the most motivating thing that I saw out on the ground was, yes, all cops are B words, but also if they really wanted to get the crowd riled up, they'd say, what do you guys think of Donald Trump? F Donald Trump. And everyone would say, F Donald Trump. So that was the really unifying factor over anything else.
It's a cult. They have no logical unifying principle. They have a follow what the cult follows. That's it.
And this is another good example of how the left, how they are right now, don't care about kids. Joe Biden has the opportunity to champion his deceased son, Beau Biden, who went after literal pedophiles in I'm spacing on the state now that they're from Delaware.
Alabama? Oh,
Delaware. Yeah, not Alabama, but like horrible cases. Turned down being, I forget, Senate, I think, in that state to go after these people. You never hear Joe talk about that. He's did all this stuff to take care of really, really evil people. A pediatrician who hurt like thousands of kids in that state. And Joe only ever says he was a hero. He died at war, which is also a lie. He didn't really die at war. That's a whole other thing.
Well, he probably said that because of dementia, but
yeah, and the clones start to decay. But like, how do you not champion that? If you cared about the well-being of kids, your son did a really great thing. Didn't always win and do what I think could have been better in terms of punishment. But like, why does he not talk about that?
Because he's commuting the sentence of judges who are selling kids into prison.
So the dude is possessed.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.